had the most amazing conversation with my Lyft driver yesterday. I've been talking a lot about this homeless crisis, and I'm up in Ventura, and I noticed there wasn't a lot of homelessness here. And so when he picked me up, I was talking to him about it, and he said there actually was quite a bit of homelessness nearby in Oxnard, but not here because of the police. So I told him I'd seen this documentary called Seattle is Dying, and that the documentary had indicated that the homeless crisis is largely to do with addiction. In fact, apparently 100% of the homeless encampments in Seattle is due to addiction. And he says to me, I agree with that 100%. And I said, why do you think there's not a lot of homelessness in Ventura? He says it's because the police don't allow it. And I said, that's interesting. He said, just next door in Oxnard, there is a lot because they don't police it as much. And then he says to me, I used to be homeless. And you should see this guy. I mean, he was well put together, fit, driving a nice car. And I was like, are you serious? And he said, yeah. He said, I was. And I said, what's the story? Do you mind me asking? And he said, I was an addict. For 10 years, he was addicted to heroin, and he was homeless. And I said, what happened? How did you turn it around? And he said that he broke into this guy's place and tried to steal some food, and the guy caught him. And instead of kind of screaming at him or getting a confrontation, he said, look, man, he goes, obviously you look like you need some help. Can I help you? And he just ran. He left. He ran. But then he came back a few hours later. This is after now being an addict for 10 years and living on the street. And he says to the guy, I guess knocks on the door and says, were you serious about helping me? And the guy says, he said, absolutely. So he gives him a job and trains him how to work in his kitchen, trains him how to bartend, how to run the restaurant. And I said, well, did he make you go to rehab or anything like that? Or, what was the agreement? And he said, no. He said, he just kept me busy. I said, that's it? No rehab, nothing? And he said, no. I said, how did you just went through withdrawals on the job? He said, look, I was just working 17 hours a day, and I didn't have time to fall back. And this guy just supported and loved me through it. He completely saved my life. Blown away. I was blown away by this story. So then I asked him, I live in a community that is ravaged with this homeless crisis, and it's getting worse. What do you think, from an addict's perspective and from a former homeless person's perspective, what do you think the solution is? And he said, work. Staying busy. He said, this guy wouldn't let him go to a rehab because he knew that rehabs fail. That you're just too likely to get out of a rehab and then relapse. He said, but staying busy and having work. And then I said, well, what do you think about, from the perspective of society, the communities, what do you think the answer is? And he said, work. Allowing people and supporting people to have jobs. I just felt like this is all starting to click for me, that the class separation and the income disparity is fueling a lack of appropriate jobs, and the unemployment is fueling addiction. Addiction is fueling crime. Crime is fueling the overcrowding of the prisons. Then these people are being released after being in really harsh environments onto the street with even less opportunity to work. And so they're turning back to drugs and crime. So anyway, it was really eye-opening, mind-blowing.